Good morning and welcome to Member Focus Monday. I'm Christina Schaefer, Director of Social Media for HAR, and I am joined today by Mike Wong, HAR Director, Commercial. Welcome to the program, Mike.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I know you've joined us before in a panel, but this is your first time on solo, so we're excited to hear from you. You have a lot of great information to share with our members about safety in general, but specific to the holidays, and also helpful tips for their clients and customers. So we're excited to hear all of that from you today.
Absolutely.
So before we get into all of that, I do want to mention that this week's HAR On the Move podcast and Member Focus Monday are sponsored by Artavia, a new home community in Conroe. Stay tuned to the end to hear a little bit more about them. So, Mike, again, you've been on the program before, but for those who may not know you, and I know you're very popular in the Houston real estate area, but if you could tell us just a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, maybe a little of your background.
Sure, absolutely. Well, as you mentioned, I'm a current board member for HAR, serving our commercial members. I also serve on the Texas Realtors Board of Directors. But locally, I've been a realtor since 2007, specializing in commercial real estate. Before that, actually, where all this came from is I grew up the first 32 years of my life in a grocery store. So a lot of the lessons and things that I've learned that help me relate to safety and these experiences actually came from that store. And it's funny, safety is not something that you follow or you train to because you live in fear. It's kind of like taking CPR training, right? You hope you never need it, but if it ever comes up, you know exactly what to do in those situations. That's what we're hoping to do today in this program and in our classes.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Mike, and thank you for sharing with us today again. So I'd like to, and you and I talked about this last week, we don't want to scare anyone today, but we do want to make people aware of what is out there and what is going on. Would you mind sharing just any personal accounts that you have of maybe a dangerous encounter that maybe you experienced or another realtor that you know experienced?
Sure. Getting into this, I learned that real estate isn't much different than that grocery store, convenience store, right? At a grocery store, you're standing behind a counter, and your biggest fear is somebody walking in and robbing you or harming you. And I thought I was getting away from that getting into real estate. But realistically, real estate agents face the same risk when they do an open house. Complete stranger walks in or a prospect walks in, you have no idea what their intentions are. So I really didn't get that far when I left the grocery business and got into this. Um, I've experienced several situations, but I'll share three that I constantly think about because I'm trying to figure out how to get better at them or how I could handle them a different way. So, and this is through different phases of my career and different experiences and different timelines and different places, so people get an idea of where and how these things can happen. When I was a brand new agent, I was actually showing a luxury home to my cousin and his family. During that showing, there was an attempted home invasion. Three men tried to force their way into the home while we were inside, and my cousin had his wife there and his daughter there, and that was one of the scariest moments of my life. Um, Second incident happened about 6 years ago. I was viewing a 150,000 square foot warehouse building. The building's so large, it takes about 10 minutes to walk to the center of it. By the time I got to the center, I encountered about 12 or 15 squatters that surrounded me in the property. So walking in was about 10 minutes, running out was about 3 minutes. When I ran out and got outside the building, I was on the opposite side of the building from my car. And so imagine walking around this 150 square foot building back to your car to get away from the building. Um, the third incident, and it kind of inspired me to kind of look for classes and start sharing information with our members and my fellow realtor family, was a couple years ago, somebody was targeting female Asian realtors in our community, and he was getting them to show an isolated listing. And when he would get there, he would expose himself to these women. And so, I realize it's not just me; it's happening all around us, and we've got to educate people and show them resources and how to handle situations like this and what to do in those situations. So, I share those three stories because incidents can happen anywhere. They can happen in a home. They can happen in commercial property or even a rural isolated property, and at different phases in our career. So there's a lot of different ways that we're targets.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Do you find that female realtors tend to be targeted more than male? Are they at greater risk?
I will say females definitely put up with more than male realtors have to. They get comments on their social media accounts. They get harassing text messages and strained phone calls in the middle of the night. I don't get those, thankfully, but I understand what they go through, and some of those things happening can lead and escalate into personal encounters or stalking or potential assault situations. So women unfortunately have more that they have to look out for,
Mhm.
but I feel like men were more susceptible and at risk to robberies in open houses. That's a common target that a male will be targeted in an open house or as a realtor. Females face the same risk, obviously, and more. Um, but whether you're male or female, you can walk into a house and be confronted by squatters,
Mhm.
right? And so there's things that obviously females have to put up more from the harassment side than male do. But I'm going to issue a challenge to our realtor family. If another agent feels uncomfortable or they don't want to go on that showing or something doesn't feel right, go with them or go for them.
Mhm.
Be available for somebody, and make yourself available. If you're out there and you see those open house signs, just stop by and pop in, introduce yourself to that realtor, and just check on them, make sure you're okay, or they're okay. I'm sorry, make sure they're okay, and just let them know why you're there. You just want to check on a fellow realtor family member and make sure we're all safe.
Oh, I love that idea. Thank you for that. What do you believe are maybe some of the most prevalent dangers facing realtors today?
Sure, and I actually have a slide for it, but
Hmm.
the public perception of realtors is, on social media at least, is we drive nice cars, we show properties all day, and we make tons of money, right? And that's what the public sees. That's
Hmm.
that's that's why people get into this industry, and that public perception puts at risk because all of a sudden we're now targeted for wire fraud. We're targeted for our social media is being cloned. We're targeted for robberies or things like that. Um, I mentioned it earlier. You're a target as a realtor. You're a target anywhere, right? You could be walking
Hmm.
through a parking lot. You could be leaving a bank. But we meet with complete strangers every day in different locations. And for stalkers, we advertise where we're going to be. We're going to tell them the exact address, the time we're going to be there. We give them all the information we need. So we have to be more careful and conscious about when we are at those open houses, who's walking in, how many people are in the house. If something goes wrong, do we know how to get out?
Hmm.
Um, the biggest trend that's picked up lately is jugging, right? Being followed from the banks, being followed from the shopping malls. There's been a realtor friend of mine. There's been an incident of stalking where last year somebody actually put a tracker on her car, and it was why she was shopping with her family. And thankfully, somebody saw it and alerted her when she came out of the store. But how many people would stay and wait for you to finish shopping to come back to your car to alert you? Most people would probably leave. So she was very lucky and fortunate. What I want people to remember is a criminal's already planned what they're going to do to you. Okay. Being alert, being aware, and being prepared is your best plan. We don't know exactly what they're going to do, but if you know how to respond or you know how to react or you've got these measures in place, you have a better chance.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mike. And we do have a couple questions coming in. If you have questions for Mike, please type them into the comments and we will get to as many of those as we can. Um, so a few people are asking about open houses. So we'll get to open houses in a second. But just generally, when we're out in public, what could we be doing to just stay safe and stay alert?
So, when you're out in public, the main thing I focus on is really grinding down on your back to basics. Let's focus on your situational awareness. Do you know what's going on around you? Are you staring at your phone? All right, our phones are our biggest distractions. We're guilty of it. We walk through the parking lot looking at them. We get in our car and we stare at our phones, and we're not paying attention to people and situations around us. So, take out your ear pods, right? Eliminate distractions and phone calls when you're out there. Look ahead on your path. When we're driving in traffic and you see orange traffic cones, you immediately avoid them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you're looking ahead on your path, when you're walking into a store or walking into a listing, start paying attention to what's going on with that property. Are there any broken windows, any signs of the door being opened or a gate opens or something there telling you, hey, hold on a minute, let me wait? Or is there somebody outside watching you walk into that property alone?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when you're more aware and more alert of these situations, start to recognize these signs before you before you proceed and allow a situation to unfold. Um, that's the focus of the situational awareness, is to catch it before it can actually happen to you. Um, Looking ahead and having that plan in your mind is how you counteract things. What I like to tell people is arrive early. Okay. Check out that house. I like to drive around the property I'm showing first. I like to look at the property. I look around it, see if there's people outside. I look to see if there's other properties nearby that may be boarded up or may look like it's a problem. Um, but I like to imagine myself in that property and what's my escape plan. Am I familiar with the house? If I have to run out the back, am I running into a fenced backyard? Where's the side gate? How do I have to get out of there? Are there stray animals? Right? Postmen look for stray animals all the time. I hope we never have to do it as a realtor, but is there a stray dog or something out there that we should be watching out for as well?
Okay, very good. So a few comments came in. So Amalia said, do you believe open houses create an environment that can be unsafe for realtors? And she also asked, what can we do to keep ourselves safe if we are independent realtors doing open houses? So with that in mind, what are some safety measures realtors can take to protect themselves when they're showing homes or hosting open houses?
Sure. So let's start with showing, right? I mentioned about before you get there, try to arrive early and look for those signs. If there's any dangers or threats, broken windows, doors are open, gates are open, things like that. If there's no threats, take a look at the house before maybe your clients arrive. Look for those exit areas. Whether you're doing an open house or a showing, let the prospect walk ahead of you, right? Don't get boxed into a bedroom or closet or hallway where you can't get back out. So let the prospects walk ahead. Park in the street. Don't let your car get blocked in. Keep your keys with you or in your hand. So if you have to get away, you can use your keys, get away. You can set off a panic alarm with your button on your keychain. If you have to, you can use a key as a weapon. But have your keys in case you have to get away. And being parked in the driveway and blocked in by another car, it doesn't give you many options. So try and park in the street or try and park where you won't be blocked in. Use a lifeline or a showing partner who knows where you're going to be at, right? You can check in with them when you're done showing, or you can check in with them every so many minutes. Let them know who you're with, right? We should make it a policy to ask for an ID, right? When you test drive a car, they ask you for ID. And this has to be a policy where you can't ask a specific person. You've got to ask everybody. And so make it a policy where, whether it's at your office at the meeting or when you meet them in person, ask them for a copy ID and say, I've got to take a photo of this and text to my office so they can put it in our file. And this is just a policy we have. So little practices like that. As far as open houses, don't do those alone, right? We've got lenders, we've got vendors, we've got new agents, we've got people who want to do those open houses with us. Invite somebody along to host with you.
Yeah. Great tips. And I did want to mention also that don't forget that we have resources available for our members. You talked about checking ID. The verified user tool that was created is so helpful. HAR.com/verified user. You can go check that out. And we also have the Safe Showings app that's available to members at no additional charge. So be sure to check out some of those resources. Were you going to add something there, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of electronic resources, and our phones hurt us, but our phones also help us, right? Use those to take a picture of an ID. Here's one thing I teach in my class. If you're in an open house and somebody walks in and it gives you that creepy vibe, you don't feel comfortable, just tell that person, excuse me for a minute, I've got to take this phone call. I promised somebody I'd do a live virtual tour of the home. And flick on your camera and catch them in your camera and say, excuse me, but let them know they're on camera. Let them know you've seen them. Let them know other people see them. And walk through the house and do the virtual tour. Or if you feel really unsafe, take that moment and say, let's start from the outside, and hold your camera up and walk out the door and just stand out there, maybe call somebody or maybe go to a neighbor's if you don't feel safe, something's going on.
Great tips. Thank you so much for that, Mike. If anyone else has questions for Mike, please type those in and we will get to those in a moment. And I know I've been showing briefly some of the slides that Mike provided for us, but he has about 6 slides that he created for us. And stick around to the end because we will be sharing a link to those slides where you can actually have those, download those, share them with people in your office or whatever you want to do with those. So stay tuned to the end for that. Okay, so let's talk about the holiday season now, because we are in December, we are in the holiday season. We always typically hear about crime rates and things going up sometimes during the holiday season, because so many people are out shopping and doing things. So what are some holiday safety tips that you want to share with our members, specifically as realtors?
Sure. So, just for everybody in general, right? Christmas time, we're distracted. We've got family in town. We're running errands. We're trying to get everything done in time. We're shopping, right? Well, at the same time, criminal prospects are lead generating as well, right? They're looking for you. They know shoppers are out there. They know people are out there with trunks full of gifts and homes full of gifts. So during the holidays, those crimes pick up because it's a greater opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, so just be aware and alert. So, I talking about shopping, don't leave valuables in your car. Right now, Amazon packages, porch pirates, they know you're going to be getting deliveries. Don't make it accessible, don't be visible, because that's why they break in. um, Obviously be aware of your surroundings. um, Criminals look for opportunities, right? And I'll go
Mm-hmm.
into that a little bit more when we talk about homeowners. They look for opportunities, so you don't want to make yourself a target. Holidays are high score opportunities, because most of the time you're going to have your entire family's gifts in one place, and they can get everybody's gift in one place where you're running around to 20 different places for your family, right? So don't make it easy for them. Um, I I always assume I'm being watched or I'm being followed. What would I do if somebody's watching me? What would I do if I'm being followed? And it's not because I'm paranoid, but it keeps me accountable to go through the extra steps to make myself a difficult target if somebody is watching me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I listened to an interview by a criminal last week, and it's a weird thing I do. I like to know the mindset of what other people think if they're targeting us. And one criminal said, he said, "You're a target just by the way you walk." Okay. And that made me think, how am I walking? How are we walking? What are they looking for? Um, they're looking for just people who are distracted on their phones.
Mm-hmm.
They're targeting elderly people, right? Because they're less physically capable of defending themselves. They're targeting people at shopping malls that are carrying a lot of luxury item bags, right? Their hands are full. They don't have their phone. They can't defend themselves. They can't run. Um, they're targeting bank customers, right? When you're leaving the ATM or you're walking out of the bank. Kids are very easy targets. People think, well, you can't steal anything from my kid. Every kid has a cell phone, and those are valuable. They can be resold, or worst case, a kid could be taken,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we don't want that to happen. So talk to your family members. It's not just about us being safe, but it's looking out for others and looking out for our kids.
Okay.
Um, we're right now the shopping mall is going to be busy. All right,
Mm-hmm.
we're all going to be shopping, and things happen in shopping malls. I think whether you're out at a shopping mall or a grocery store or just out in general, you want to know your exit and escape plans if something happens, if something goes wrong. You want to remain calm, but you want to observe what's going on and react. You don't want to react to a situation in front of you and run left or right, and if there's another situation you're going to run right into.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you're in a mall or you're in a store, most of the time retail staff and employees usually have training and they know their exits and secure locations to wait or how to handle that type of situation. Um, I like to tell people when you're walking through the parking lot of a grocery store and you're walking in, you kind of know where you're going. You're walking out, you kind of know where you're going. You follow that aisleway where those cars are. Um, the big thing that's happening in shopping center and grocery store parking lots is somebody will walk up, grab your purse, and jump into a car and speed away. So I like to kind of zigzag, right? Or tell people just cross over a lane. If you get out of your car, they expect
Mm-hmm.
you to walk straight into that store. If you feel like you're being followed, just walk through an aisle of cars to the other lane and start walking that way. And you can always walk back, but somebody in a car, they've got to go drive through that aisle, turn around, and come back to you if you walk across to another aisle. So that's one of those instances where I say don't be an easy target. Make it hard for somebody if they're following you or if they're looking at you for an opportunity to rob you.
That makes sense. That's great advice. We had a question, actually, a couple tips, comments, and questions came in. So we did share the har.com/verified user, as well as the Safe Showings app. And again, that is free to HAR members. Just use the link that is in the chat. It's just safeshowings.com/free to me, or free for me, excuse me. And hopefully that should work for everyone. I saw Demetria did say that she's had trouble with it. So we will have somebody on staff reach out to you, Demetria. Rubina just made a comment that she and her family use the Life 360 app. It gives them peace of mind and knowing each other's whereabouts. So yes, very popular app that's helpful, especially for families or maybe teams or things like that, using that to be aware of where everybody is. Richard Ortiz asked a question. Any advice for agents with car magnets and agent photos on advertising?
You're much easier to follow and identify with those photos. It's I don't want to say it's an industry standard, but a lot of people do it, right? If you're not, and the reality is, a lot of people will tell you, hey, take those photos off your marketing, take it off your cards, avoid any type of suggested photos. But we have social media now. It doesn't matter if they get your business card with a photo. Without a photo, they can go look you up online, or we have your websites. So, you know, I'd say keep it professional, right? I personally, I don't use a photo on my card. I don't. I do have my photo on social media, but it's a professional photo. I'm always conscious of if my phone gets stolen. So if you steal my phone, it's password locked, and there's not a photo of my family on it. Because obviously, if you steal my phone, you can probably figure out who I am, right? You can just Google Mike Wong Realtor, and I'm going to pop up everywhere. I don't want you to know if I have kids. I don't want you to know the most important people in my life. And if they're on my screen, they're on my home screen, my phone, you're going to see them. So that's just another measure of layer of protection that I have. But photos, I'll leave it up to the individual. A lot of people, that's their brand, right? Your face and your photos, your brand. And so I don't want to take that away from you, but just be conscious of how you're using it, or what type of image you're promoting with that photo.
And that's a great point that you make, that maybe you're not sharing family members or things like that. Everybody has different opinions on what they're willing to share, but I think, and I get this question as a social media professional, what is okay to share? I think it's just not so much what is okay to share, because that's different for everybody, but I think it's be aware of what you are and are not sharing. Just don't, be very conscious about what you're sharing. And you mentioned earlier, like open houses, you're posting the date, the time, where you're going to be. We promote for people to do virtual open houses and go live and do things like that. Be aware of what you're saying. Maybe don't give the exact address on the live stream. Maybe tell them to direct message you for that property address. But also, the worst thing that you could say is, I'm here all alone at 123 Main Street. We definitely don't want to say that. So yeah, some great things that you can do, because I think it's really just important to, as you're saying, be aware of what you're doing physically, but also be aware of what you're sharing.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. And I did want to mention that we did share also, Teresa Murphy in our professional development department shared that we are having a webinar on December 7th. So that's some important things also to look out for this holiday season. You can check that out if you are interested. So another big question here for you, Mike, in regard to the holidays. What should our members be sharing with their clients and customers, whether their property is on or off market? Because this might be a good time to be reaching out to past clients, things like that. But also there's people that have their home currently on the market. So what's a good thing for them to be doing there?
Yes, absolutely. So I mentioned porch pirates, right? They know we're going to be getting a ton of deliveries. So consider having this dropped off on Amazon pickup spot, or being conscious of when those packages are being delivered and put those away. Even yard decor now is being stolen, right? Holiday yard decor. So again, the holidays, it's crimes happen because there's opportunities out there. So we don't want to give them a lot of opportunities. Talk to your sellers if your home's on the market. The top most stolen items from listings during showings or during open houses are prescription medications and firearms. So put those away in a safe. Don't put them in a cabinet. That's where they're stolen from. Put them somewhere where they can be locked up. Don't leave them out where they're visible. When you're packing and moving, this could be tenants moving out or homeowners in the process of moving out. A lot of people will leave things out that they don't want to forget. So they put it in where they can see it. They'll put out their watch. They'll put out, some important documents. They'll put out some personal items, or a spare key, or, the extra remotes they've got to turn in or leave with the house. Don't leave those out, right? Put those in a bag or put those in a box somewhere where hopefully you won't forget it, but don't leave it visible for people to rummage through while they're also supposed to be looking at your house. Upgrade your home. Now there's so much technology out there. We've got doorbell cameras, we've got smart plugs and security systems. So believe it or not, homes with an alarm or just even an alarm sign are 300% less likely to be broken into by a criminal. We talked about social media, right? When you're going on vacation, don't post it on social media. 75% of burglars use social media to identify their targets. Okay, so post your vacation photos after you get back. But when you do go away, make it look like you're home. Don't just leave a light on. Criminals are a little bit smarter than that these days. They kind of know better. So take advantage of those smart plugs, put them on timers and schedules, have different lights come on different times of the day. Maybe have your TV come on a little bit louder so it can be heard, but face it towards a window so people see that flickering. They know somebody may be up watching TV. Leave a car parked in the driveway, use your security system, and have somebody check on your house. Get them to go by and get your mail. And those little annoying flyers and door hangers you get on the front door, have them take those off so it looks like somebody's there daily. Okay.
Great.
Sorry. One other thing, or a couple other things. You can put a beware of dog sign on your gate, even if you have a friendly dog like mine. The reason why I say that is, criminals, when they drive through a neighborhood looking for a target, they score their targets. Is it easy or is it hard? If you've got an alarm sign and you've got a beware of dog sign, that's an automatic strike off their list. They don't want to encounter either one. So unfortunately for your neighbors who don't, they're going to be an easier target, right? So you just want to deter or defer that risk of crime.
Excellent tips. One of my neighbors in my neighborhood actually has a beware of dog sign, but they don't even have a dog. So
I love it. They probably heard me teach that.
Whatever works, right? Wonderful. Yeah. So we also, we always are promoting safety. I mean, we all know that Realtor Safety Month is in September, but this is something that I think you and I are both passionate about year round. What can our members do, though, if they do encounter any experience when they're out in the field and want to share that with people?
Yes, absolutely. I hope it never happens, but you can email safety@har.com. HAR also does provide resources. There's har.com/safety. So there's tips on there. Hopefully we'll be adding more to it. I teach a safety class as well. So, we hope something never happens, but if it does happen, we want you to share it, because if we're being targeted, we all need to know what's going on in our community so we can either have law enforcement get involved, or we can get that person just reduced as a threat.
Wonderful. Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, we will share Mike's slides here in just a little bit, but we do have a quick video from Artavia, our sponsor for this week's program. So let's take a look at that really quick, and then we will be back with more information. So thank you again to Artavia for sponsoring this week's program. Mike, you've mentioned a couple times about realtors being targets and stalking cases that have taken place. So what should we do if we feel like we are being followed?
Well, the number one thing, I actually have a slide as well. The number one thing, if you're being followed, do not go home. Okay, don't let them know where you live, or don't let them know where they can come back later. Don't go home. Jugging is when you're being followed from the bank or you're being followed from the store. They intend to rob you, and it's not just breaking your car anymore. They're actually physically attacking you and robbing you. So one incident last year that really caught my attention was somebody was shopping at the Galleria, and they were doing a huge luxury shopping spree and loaded up themselves and their bags with with all these luxury items, and they were followed for 3 hours after they left the mall. And I was thinking, well, they probably broke into their car and got away with, a nice haul.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't break into her car. They followed her home, and they didn't rob her in her driveway. They actually tied her up and forced her into her home and took things in her home as well. Because you figure if you go on a luxury shopping spree at a mall, you probably have a lot of nice things at home. So be aware if you're being followed. Pay attention when you're using an ATM machine if anybody's watching you, and they could be watching you from another parking lot. So it's not just immediately in front of you. I'm going to recommend you go inside the store and use the ATM machines inside those grocery stores because it's less obvious. Um, I'll either go into a grocery store or I'll go into a bank. I won't use the drive-through ATM, and people think I'm crazy because I'll do it in the rain or it takes extra time. The reason why I go in, I use the ATM and I walk out is because they're cameras, so they can timestamp when I was there and what was going on around the
Mm-hmm.
building when I was there. If something does happen. But when I walk out of that bank, I'm looking at every car and see if there's anybody in those cars, right? And so I've got that chance to kind of look around and scan and see, okay, is that a potential person who's in their car that's going to follow me out of this driveway or parking lot?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mentioned if you're being followed, don't go home. Um, Call the police if you're
Mm-hmm.
being followed. And that dispatcher is going to give you instructions on how to stay safe, and they're going to get an officer on their way to you. Okay, try and remember details about the vehicle that's following you. Let them know the color, the make and model, if you can figure it out, if you can see how many people are inside, if you can get a visible, if the license plate's visible to you. If you're close to a police station, start heading there while you're on the phone with them. So be aware of your surroundings at all times. Um, I'm going to tell you guys a quick tip, and it's called my drive. It's my in and out test. Okay, if you suspect you're being followed, or if you just think you're paranoid and you don't want to bother the police, right? Um, I want you to get on a highway or get on a major road. I want you to drive into an HEB or a Target or a fast food restaurant parking lot. I want you to drive in there, take a loop around, and drive right back onto that main road. If somebody's following you, that's going to be pretty obvious. They pulled
Mm-hmm.
in behind you and they followed you back out. What I like to do is I'll drive in, I'll pull around, and I'll try and pass the person I think's following me. And I may have my camera phone up. I may be recording their car, their license plate, or I may be snapping a picture or trying to get a picture of them, and I'll drive off. And most of the time, I'm just paranoid nobody's following me. But if they are, you've got some photo evidence on your phone that you can send to somebody, or you've got a picture of their license plate or something like that. But it'll be pretty obvious if they do follow you out. So once again, those criminals are targeting you. You don't know what their plan is. It's just being prepared and being alert. If something does happen, you kind of catch it before it escalates into something worse.
Great advice. Unfortunately, it did happen to me once where somebody was following me, and I did exactly what you said. I pulled into a local police station, and sure enough, they didn't follow me into the police station parking lot. They took off after that.
Yeah.
So I just walked inside and let them know what was going on.
Oh, wow.
Wonderful. But again, Mike, thank you so much for everything you've shared today. We have people thanking you in the comments. Great advice. Great tips. Val Howell said Mike is the best, and we agree. So thank you again for your time today, Mike.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I do want to mention that this is our second to last Member Focus Monday of the year. Our last Member Focus Monday of the year will be next Monday at 9 a.m. with HAR President and CEO Bob Hale. He is going to be talking about the current state of the real estate industry, different things that are affecting the real estate industry, and also his predictions for 2023. So be sure to tune in for that because he's going to have some great info for our members. Again, Mike, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
That is it for this Member Focus Monday. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye-bye.